All right,
I've done one of these.
So my name is Dr. Teresa Cullen, and we are at the Janine Rainbolt College of Education, where we have a one-to-one iPad program so that every teacher who's in the future teacher who's in the Janine Rainbolt College of Education has the opportunity to get an iPad when they get entered into the program, and as long as they get to learn how to use it throughout their program, and as long as they graduate in good standing, they get to keep the iPad and take it to their classroom. And what we find is that our students are leaders of iPads, not just iPads, but all technologies when they go into their schools. I'm getting emails all the time from people saying, you know, they're asking us questions, what do we do next? Because we know so much about this. So I'm terribly excited about this. Our guest speaker today is Maggie, I hope I don't say your name wrong, Mayberry?
Yeah, Mayberry.
Maggie Mayberry, who is a teacher in California. She's also an Apple Distinguished Educator. She teaches 7th grade science, and she was given that award for all her innovative uses of things like iPads in her classroom. She's going to give you a short introduction about how she's using iPads in her classroom, and then from there, she's going to go ahead and, I haven't switched to who we're looking at. This was my bad. Let me click to make sure you're on the screen. Anyway, and from there, then she's going to answer your questions that you have for her. So Maggie, take it away.
Okay, hey guys, I'm actually in San Diego, but live in Los Angeles and teach at a small little school called Manhattan Beach Middle School. So for LA standards, it's small because we are only a 1 high school district, which is awesome because we don't have a lot of the big LAUSD type issues. So in my community, it's awesome. They completely value education, and we're a 1-to-1 middle school. And so we were really early adopters. Like, as soon as the iPad 2s came out, our students were 1-to-1 with them. So it was fun, and what was great was that our science team were looked at as the innovators of the school, so they had us pilot them even the year before. So it was a great opportunity that we got to learn, and because of our, my department and team, we were able to convince the rest of the school to go 1-to-1. So it was amazing. We saw great things from, we could do this, but if I'm sharing a cart with the woman next door and she needs it, and we're only halfway done making our iMovie. So it ended up being, there was such a need for it to be in each kid's hands, and we were able to do that. So our community was able to pass it. We have a grant that funds about 26% of the iPads, so the kids check it out like they would a normal textbook, and then the other 74% are brought in from the community, so they basically bring their own iPad to school. So it's a really awesome experience. And Dr. Cullen told me to share with you guys some ideas of apps and things you can use in your classroom. I'm a science teacher, but I have apps that I use in any subject area. So I can start off with a little bit of that and kind of how I use them, and then just turn it over to you guys. So I've never done a Google Hangout before, so I'm going to try. I made a little keynote for you guys. I'm going to try to do this. Very excited.
You're doing great.
And I normally don't look like this. I was out in the sun and forgot to put sunscreen on my face yesterday, and it's crazy in California. Like, normally people don't think 75 is that warm, but it's like burning hot here we're practically on the equator. So I have total raccoon eyes. I can see myself in the picture. It's pretty funny. Like, I haven't done this since I was in high school. Okay, so I'm looking for my
screen sharing,
right?
Yep, green button.
Green button, and then I just click on whatever I'm gonna go to, right?
Yep.
So can you guys see my little presentation?
Sometimes it takes a minute.
Okay. Because I can only see my presentation. I can't.
Okay.
So did it kick in?
I can't see it yet. Oh wait. Share your screen. Nope. Cancel. Try again.
Okay. Sorry guys, technology.
Now we're on.
Okay.
We did one of these the other day, and the person had a little trouble, and she ended up taking her phone, and she's like, "I'll just go show you her phone." She's held it up. She's like, "So this is what it looks like on my iPad."
I should do it. I think I got it.
I think you got it.
Okay. Right. So let me go to my.
Just a second.
Yay!
Yeah. Yay! Everybody.
Okay. Yay! This is so exciting.
All right, we're ready to go, Maggie. We can see it. And
all right, cool.
Okay.
All right. So, my model in my classroom is, I don't do this. I rarely am talking in front of the classroom. So my science room is very student-centered and completely designed around the 4 C's. And I like to have fun. I mean, I always say that I'm more of an actor than I am a teacher, because I need to go out there and sell that science is so awesome. And it's definitely what this country needs. So I kind of learned this through using iPads, and kind of became, my classroom became even more student-centered. And I think part of it is, it really does help like bridge the gap of what's happening at home. Kids are using these devices at home. We shouldn't make them leave them at the door in our classroom. So how can we integrate the two together? So, I mean, these are just some basic lists. I'm going to give you guys just a set of free apps and then a set of paid apps that are kind of my fan faves, and just give you some ideas for how I use them. So, I mean, I always say it's like, I call them the Microsoft Office, and I'm sure my ADE counterparts would be so annoyed with me for saying that, but Pages, Keynote, I don't even use numbers because I haven't found my students to need it really usefully. But I mean, Pages obviously is any sort of writing document, and then Keynote I use a lot. Like, I have like question starters in the beginning of class. So I have my, like, I call it a question of the day. They write the question, and then they, on the next slide, they write their keynote. So essentially what I've done was I've had them sort of take notes, and I've had them make a digital flashcard, because they can go home and use that information by hitting play and looking at it all over again. And then, I mean, YouTube for obvious reasons. And I actually have just become, I keep saying that I can now become a promoter of iTunes U. I'm such a fan favorite of it. I've put all of my classes into iTunes U now. So you can search out there and find some of my classes. And what was great when I was at the ADE Institute, which I met Dr. Cullen at, I found so many people in that room's courses, and we're sitting here teaching the same subjects. And I'm one of those people that's, why do we need to reinvent the wheel? If you're doing an awesome lab with, you know, with microscopes, let me just steal the lab from you. And so it's a really good access point for you just to find activities that you can do from class. And I think it's great because you could take them and adjust them and put them into your new courses, and you kind of use it to any extent that you want. I mean, there's free books. I mean, those of you who are going to be biology teachers or life science teachers, there's like these E.O. Wilson courses that are actual like books in iTunes U, and they're beautiful that you can use, and all of kind of the documents that go along with it. And another one that I love is Book Creator, and it's free. Now, I also, in the paid apps, I'm going to tell you about this, and what I love is it's sort of an alternative to having a notebook. Like, notebooks were really good things 5 years ago, and they still are really good things. It's just a digital way of connecting it. And I will tell you, middle school kids like nothing more than seeing themselves and seeing something they do get published. It is like the coolest day when they could make their, you know, invertebrates book and publish it and see it in as an iBook. They just think that is like one of the most amazing things. And it's so fun to see that like that process happen. Some other ones I've got here, like I said, kids love to see themselves. I film, I think, more than most people do. I'm a big fan of iMovie. And I love it from, I've had teachers, you know, some teachers aren't comfortable being filmed. I don't care. I'm like, turn that film on and do whatever you need to do. I mean, I have kids that film me every day, and they're like, I go home and watch it again so I understand. And that's fine with me. And I look, because I teach chemistry, and it's California, so our classes are pretty big. We might have, you know, 38 to 40 kids in a classroom. And so I have them film like a lot of the demos that we do, and then I'll have them take my voice out and edit over in their own voice. So I like to use that like Bloom's taxonomy, and to me that's one of the highest levels of learning. Is like, can you reteach it back to me? And so by having that platform, they can do it. I've had them make movies on photosynthesis. I've had them make movies on the parts of the cell. So go out and act like you're, you know, a cell wall, and why did you act that way? So it's really fun in that aspect. And then I like iMotion and Slow Pro Lite. They're both free apps, and what that does is it helps slow it down. Now iMovie can do that, but I like some of, like in the demos that we do that happen really fast, like especially when we're doing things with speed and physics. It's a great forum to have them film in that app, and then it really slows it down for them to be able to see. And then I don't know if you guys have heard of Edmodo. I'm still a big fan. It's kind of one of those apps that I'm like, I'm on the fence of, but what I do like is I'm able to easily get out information to kids. So when I am, you know, see a great article that kids, you know, would like, or it's about science that I think they'd have fun reading, I'll put it up on Edmodo, and I'm always surprised how many kids will comment on it. Like, they follow it, they want to see it, and then I've kind of like snuck in science on my free time, you know, on my free time, but their free time as well, and they don't even know that it's happening. And then the last one being Educreations. And there's a lot of different formats for Educreations. Show Me is another one. And what I love is it does hit that highest level of Bloom's taxonomy. So you get to, be able to really be able to reteach, hear it yourself, trade with a seat partner. Let me see your show me. Let me go ahead and peer review it to see what you could do better, and then redo it. Because that whole process is what we're seeing happen with the Common Core, and especially the next generation science standards. So it's a great way to see that happen. I have a super funny Educreation story. I'm going to put my camera back on really quick if you guys can see me. Let's see. Okay, can you guys see me now?
You can see, we can see you looking at us.
Okay, cool. Okay, so
we can see
the first time one of the first time I ever used Educreations with my class was my teaching partner teaches next door to me, and he is one of the loudest men in America. He's awesome. And so what we were having to do is we were doing our family life chapter. And so, part of family life is labeling the parts of the anatomy. And so I hear him screaming at the top of his lungs, everybody should have a penis on their iPad right now. And what he was having him do is he was having him label it in Educreations. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's what you want to do with Educreations, because they're going to go back and their parents might see that. Like, maybe just do that on plain paper. Like, there's some things that don't need to be plain paper. But hearing a really loud man shouting that in the hallway was pretty funny. And he said it and he realized in his head, like, you're never going to hear that again. Like, you just shouldn't have penises on your iPads right now. So it was pretty funny.
Hey, Maggie, you actually aren't showing us quite yet. If you would click back on screen share to turn it off. And then
okay. Well, I'm going to get back to the keynote. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah. You go right back to the keynote. We're all good.
Yeah, I'll try that one. Let's see.
Right.
Can you guys see it now?
Yep, we can see the keynote. We're good.
Okay, cool. All right, so those are my free apps. I'm going to get, these are my science apps. Some are free and some aren't. The cell simulator is awesome. It just came out. I love it because it's like a game. So when I'm teaching the parts of the cell, what you can do is you can change the levels of oxygen that are happening, and then it's just a bunch of data that the kids see this little guy like start to die, and they like love to try to kill him, and they love to try to get his blood sugar to be 1,000. And you can do it, and you see what's happening in every cell. So I think like it really makes the parts of the cell real to the kids. And then Coaster Physics, I teach physical science, which is like basic physics concepts, and it's fun because they can make like a 3D roller coaster, and they can see what happens and how many G's it is, and they love that. And then a free one that I love when I'm teaching astronomy is I'm a huge believer that kids need to collect more data in science, and it's something we don't really do very much, is 3D sun. And what it is, I mean, it literally is just kind of a photo of what's happening on the sun today. It'll say how many sunspots are there, what are the solar flares, what are the prominences, and then it'll actually like show videos of them happening. So the kids, I mean, they freak out when they see like a big sun flare that's happening, closer, like from the Hubble spacecraft instead of, just here on Earth, some telescope. And it looks like a ginormous volcano going off. They just absolutely love it. So it's kind of a cool thing. And it's free. I'm all about the free apps. And it's funny because my district was very into letting us purchase apps when we first went to the iPad, and we're finding it more and more not necessary because of, there's just so much out there that's free. But here are some of my fan faves that do cost, and I would say Notability at the top left is my #1 favorite. And what it is it's just a PDF reader. So anything that I create, I then put it in PDF form, just for like the formatting aspect of it. Not that I even really care that the kids would have it in Word. But then it makes it more like a worksheet. So they can color on it, they can highlight, they can write the answers in and submit it on that form, which I like because sometimes they want to go back and look at what I was asking and things like that and not have it all like mumbled, jumbled up. So, and that's one that cross-curricularly everyone in my school uses. Like it's one of the apps that we said we absolutely could not live without. And then I told you guys about Book Creator, but Creative Book Builder is a paid version, very similar to it. And it just has a few more bells and whistles. And plus I love using it because I've made up a little rap song like to the song of OPP. So every time we open up CBB, I'm like, open up your CBB. And they all scream, you know me. It's pretty funny. So that's kind of how I am as a teacher. And then Explain Everything is very similar to what I said with Educreation. So it's sort of like making you the Khan Academy. So it gives you control. And it just has, because it costs $4.95, it has a lot more bells and whistles. You can add video, you can add, images and things like that. And it's one that I use a lot when I'm doing like math applications. Because I do think like kids just sometimes need to see that stuff happen again. Like I was one of those kids in math that needed to see my teacher's lecture 8 times in order to understand it. And I didn't have that option. And kids do now. So you can load these up to your website and then kids can go home and watch them again if they need to. And then my new favorite, it's called Apollo Atlas Learning. And this one's a little bit different. It's an app, but it also is, you have to pay like a subscription fee. So like our school district pays a subscription fee for kids. And what this does is anything that's on my iPad in the Apollo app will show up in my class's Apollo, kind of class. And so what it does is it gives me the ability to record, and then it gives me the ability to hand it over to the kids. So a lot of times, like when we're doing like speed and direction and we're talking about vectors and the arrows, I'll put up, some examples like I would do on on a whiteboard or something like that. I can put it and show it on their iPads. I can hit this button that says quiz, which gives kids control. And then they can go ahead, I can see the errors, like I can see all of their iPads live. So I can see any errors before they become ingrained in their head, or any of the great things that are happening, and then turn it over to that kid to explain if they're doing something really well. The kids love it because it has all these kind of fun features where, wheels, like who's going to be next and called on. And it's just super cool for them, sort of like explain everything. They can go back and watch these things at home on their own. And so it's helped like with kids that are absent. We have a community that travels a lot. So kids can log on if they're at home and they're sick, or if they're traveling, if they have Wi-Fi, they can log on if they know you're on Apollo and actually watch your lesson live. So it's kind of I really have enjoyed using it. And then this was more of a web-based, and I'll talk about like one on each of the pages here. And I actually stole this from my husband. He's also in education, but we talk a lot about the 4 C's, and one of them, all the resources that are out there and to hit. And these are, you might just want to take a quick screenshot of them, just some basic search engines that we use. This Instagrok was one that I learned about a couple of months ago. It is amazing, especially for middle and high school students when they're searching something, because what they see is that when it does a search, it looks like a concept map when they do it. So if they like search photosynthesis, they're seeing, angiosperms, gymnosperms, and all the vocabulary that goes along with it. And it's one of the search engines. I say Google a lot because it's easy and the kids know it, but I use Instagrok a lot in my classroom, and it's awesome. It's probably one of my fan faves, and it's free, which is even better. And most of these are all web-based as well. And then I've got, some creativity apps. I have Show Me and Educreations down there again. Wattpad I've been using a lot as well. They're pretty easy. It's just a way, to help kind of place everything, share your stories out there. I think kids need to, go out there and see other things, and then also go ahead and, share with others. Code.org is one for creativity. I don't know if you guys know, the day of coding is usually in December, so I always go to code.org. It's a great organization that does that, and it lets kids kind of just play a little bit. Huge into collaboration. I use Google Drive in my class because it's the best way for kids, I think, to share. It's super easy. And it just shows them, because we are not in this, like we're not out here by ourselves anymore in these classrooms like we used to be, even 10 years ago. And so I think it's really good for the kids to, work on Google Docs and things like that to see what other people's perspectives are. And the Goose Chase is super fun because it already has some set up scavenger hunts, which kids love. And just some critical thinking apps. Khan Academy is awesome. I do use it a lot. I put a lot of the stories or his videos up on my website to help kids, like when I'm doing things on basic stoichiometry, or even, just any of our, how to figure out the speed of an object, how to figure out, velocity of an object. It's like his are just another format for them to see that in. And then graphing stories, I don't know if you guys have seen the Dan Meyer videos, but they're awesome. And they're all online and they're all free and they're super fun. It's a good way for them to see. Good ways to communicate. I love Prezi. I'm a huge fan of it. And this is another one for don't go reinvent the wheel. If you feel like you need to give a presentation on something, go to Prezi and look it up. I guarantee there's already one that's there. And you can go ahead and make a copy of it, put it in yours, adjust it to what you need. Don't spend time, I always say, like, as a teacher, don't spend time doing that. spend time on giving feedback to kids. Like if you need a presentation, go there and copy somebody else's. It's there for you. Goodreads is another one for any of you English teachers. I know our English team does all of like their logging of the kids' books that they read through the Goodreads app. And it's just a fun, sort of like Facebook for book reading. Like I've gotten ideas for what I should read next. And the kids love talking to each other and asking each other questions through it. And then just here's my contact info. And then I'm going to kind of turn it over to you guys. And feel free, I mean, seriously, I'm like a huge, I'm going to turn that off really quick. I'm a huge believer in, can you guys see me now?
No.
Okay, oh, there we go, stop. I think that's it. There we go. I'm a huge believer in not reinventing the wheel. Like as teachers, I think we need to like, I want to have like a Facebook teacher page that's like, I'm doing a new microscope lab. I'm sick of doing the same one. If you go to Google and you say microscope labs, introduction, it comes up with the letter E. It's the same one I did in the 80s. I'm like, I need something new. And it's like, I love being able to have a network of people to go out there and find new ones from. Rhoda, my ADE roommate, was just like, I have these 3, and she like emailed them to me right away. And I'm a big believer. So if you are a science person or even not, I have friends in every aspect of it. I mean, email us and let us know what you need. Lesson planning is one of the hardest things to do because you're like, how long does this take? What should I do? And I think having access to other people's calendars and ideas really, really is helpful. So please reach out if needed.
Okay, we have a few minutes for questions. And what I'm actually going to ask is for people that if they have a question to come up so that Maggie can see you. Mrs. Mayberry, I should say. That is her Twitter name too, which you saw on there. But if you'd like to come in and ask her a question, so who'd like to come up and ask a question? Can I just tell you that there was a bunch of apps, I'm going to make this video available to you. There was a bunch of apps, like the Grok one, I'd never heard of. And I was like,
oh, you haven't? Yeah, it's awesome. Like kids love it. And the way it's Google, but it's like a different format. So the way it presents is just, it's awesome. And like for now, you know, like we're pushing really hard in my school to start writing more in science. And it's something, you know, I'm teaching for 15, this is my 16th year. So you know, we didn't write as much then because it was basically like, now you just need to know a bunch of science facts. And now we're going, no, you don't. You need to have a really good understanding. And so we're researching more, and it's such a great like platform to begin research with, especially with middle school kids and even high school. It's an awesome one.
Does anybody
you guys look so excited. I was gonna wear, by the way, I'm an Iowa State University grad. We're in the same conference, and I was gonna wear my Iowa State t-shirt, and my husband said that was really rude to do to you guys. He's like, don't egg them on. He's like, you suck at football. And I was like,
see now.
No, you guys are awesome at football. We're terrible. So I had a basketball shirt. I was good at basketball.
Where's my science ed people in the room? We got a couple. Do you guys have any questions?
I can't think of it. Yeah.
So one of the things I'm just going to give you as a little background, Maggie, which you didn't know, is that we are going to be giving them Notability and, aren't we?
Oh, really?
And Also Explain Everything is the app that we're going to give you when we give you your iPads, because we think there's...
Oh, yes, that's awesome. It's super fun. And those, I mean, both of those, especially Explain Everything, is like, you guys probably have heard a lot about like flipping your classroom. It's the perfect app for really being able to flip your classroom, because you can go ahead and sit and be watching, like tonight, I'm going to go home and watch HBO Ballers, my new favorite show with The Rock, and I'm going to record my little lesson that the kids need to do on the third day of school. So it's, I mean, you do it on your own time. You can do it during your, during lunch or whenever you need to do it. And it makes it so easy and accessible. Plus, then others can watch it too when you put it up on your website. Like I'm doing a YouTube video on the first day of school, and it's Liz Meredith. She's actually an ADE. I just met her when we were in Miami, and she's put all of her Explain Everything's up on YouTube. So I was like, oh my God, it's funny. I searched on what a control variable was, and her video was the first to pop up, and I was like, I know her too. So it's a really cool thing.
And I was going to say something else I want you to pick up, and part of the reason why I asked Ms. Mayberry to talk with you guys is because one of the things is to remember, she's been teaching for 16 years. She's got, I'm not trying to make you seem old, but just, you've been teaching for 16 years, and her classroom, like probably when she started, she had maybe 20 kids in her class, maybe? Yeah. Was that like how it used to be?
Yeah, about 22.
And now she's talking about having 40. And
Yeah, my first period is 38 kids this year.
Wow. And
I have Governor Brown saying he's making them smaller. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
So one of the things for you to think about is, I hope that you're getting, and the reason I invited her was her sense of enthusiasm for what she's doing. And a lot of times we get all caught up in, oh, the state standards say we have to teach this or we have to teach this. Do you have to remember that this is a job? Like how many different classes do you teach? Like how many different?
I teach. Like I have three preps because I teach life and physical science, so that's 7th and 8th grade, and then I teach in 8th grade. It's called collaboration, which it's all special education students. So it's almost like a whole different course.
So one of the things I want you to think about is that you may get a job, especially for those of you that are secondary, where you're teaching U.S. history 6 times a day, or you're teaching Bio 1 6 times a day, or if you're in a really nice school district, they'll give you 5 sections of biology 1, and then they'll give you 1 section of like anatomy. Like they'll say, oh, we'll give the new guy 1 different thing. So what you have to think about is, how do you keep yourself excited? How do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep yourself saying, well, I'm jazzed to go to work today. This is the new thing we're doing. And technology can be that. And I hope that you pick that up from her, because you can tell that she's jazzed about what she's doing. She's jazzed about how it's different all the time. And that's what we're really excited about.
And it's really funny, like being one of the ones like at our school that were, one of the first people to just take on the iPads in our department was other people they didn't want them because they didn't want kids to have the access, and they didn't feel like they could use it because they weren't the expert on the iPad. I mean, when I went to the ADE Institute, I was like, I'm in the bottom of this barrel about how to actually use the instrument, because so much of it, I just say to my students, like, figure it out, and they do, and I don't even need to know it. So if I had to make my own iMovie, it would be as if like my 1st grade daughter was doing it. I have no idea really how to make a good movie, but my kids make really good ones, so who cares? Because like I could teach them really good concepts on chemistry, they'll film me, and then they're making this kick butt movie with it. And to me, that's the real learning. I mean, kids love it more than anything when you say, I don't know. They will figure it out. Like they will sit in iMovie and figure out whatever question they had in 1 second, just to like kind of one up you, but it's fun. And to me, and I'm willing to take that. Like my ego is fine taking that. So it's like a challenge. And then, I mean, if they've learned a skill at that point. So yeah, I've taught them science, but yeah, I just taught them a life skill of how to solve something too. And standards are standards. They're just the framework for how to teach. It's what you do. I mean, if you give them a passion for science or social science or English, that's what you really want to pass on to your kids. And I do think by, connecting it to their 21st century world, it really does do that.
Okay, so I guess we don't have any questions. I think you have a question. Go ahead. Yeah, well, just here, I'm going to just so that she can see who's asking her the question.
I know you said something about how a lot of the adults didn't want the students to have iPads, and I know a lot of people think that it's kind of like a distraction in the classroom.
Right.
Do you see your students becoming more engaged in learning with the iPads and with technology itself?
I know that's that is like the #1 most asked question that I hear. And I always say, and this is what teachers, especially veteran teachers, don't want to say. Well, one, like I've gone to a lot of staff meetings, and I've gone to a lot of staff meetings that are awful, where my boss is sitting and reading out the schedule of the choir. And I was like, that's great. And not that I don't care about those kids, but like I've got a lot going on in science. I don't need to worry about where these 10 kids are going to be on Thursday. Like send it to me in an email. And so what am I doing? Well, I'm getting on my Facebook page. I'm checking my email. I'm figuring out my lesson plan. And I think the professional development that I go to, that I'm engaged on, I'm doing, and I'm listening, and I'm hanging, and I'm not on a different app. So I look at that as being like a reflection to the lesson you're teaching. Because if kids are all on Facebook while you're teaching, like you need to have a look in the mirror and say, what can I do different to get them back involved in that conversation? I mean, my math team, they're a great group of people, and they don't, a lot of them don't want the iPads out, and they're not teaching with the iPad, so they don't feel it's necessary. It's like, but when you are sitting up there and being the keeper of knowledge, all the math knowledge out there in the world, the kids don't respond to that kind of teaching anymore. Like they want to be in groups and they want to be collaborative. And so that's what I think our message needs to be. And the tool just helps kind of speed that process along. Did that help answer that?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. That is an absolutely awesome question. One of the worst things I've seen is Dr. Gardner and I went and visited a school, and they were showing us how they were using iPads and Macs. And there was a magnet on every room that said, this is a day you can have your iPads. It was like the kind of magnet that you put on your dishwasher to show clean and dirty. And it was like, And it was funny because they were saying, oh, look at how we're using so much technology. But then every room we walked into, we noticed that it was turned to the please don't use your iPads today. And it was like, oh, that made my heart hurt a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It does too, because like, well, one, I don't ever walk into a meeting where it says, please don't put your phone out. I mean, everyone has it out. Like, I have 2 kids. I need to have it with me at all times in case something happens. Like, it's life. And so I think part of it is, like, especially in middle school, is teaching them how to be responsible with it. Like, and I think it's okay to call a kid out, like, hey, you shouldn't be messaging your mom right now. Like, we're in the middle of filming a show me. And I think that's an okay conversation to have, because they need to learn it at some point too.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for speaking with our group today. And I really appreciate you. And what I am going to do is I am going to make this video available to you, and also I'm going to send a follow-up email that also has her contact information if any of you want to follow up with her. For some of you, I know this is all really new stuff, and what I want you to do is I want you to what's the term, marinate in it a little bit. Thinking about some of the things that she talked about, and as you start to hear about them in other places, start to think about how they fit in as you continue to learn. So I'm going to stop the public broadcast, and then I'm going to have you guys go ahead to room 237 and pick up your iPads, and you're going to come back. Please do not open them until we're going to open them all together.
That's so much fun. It's like Christmas.